Welcome to Money and Purpose, a podcast about intentional wealth and aligning your money with what is most important to you. I'm your host, Marianne Poon, CFA charter holder and financial advisor. Joining me today is Jan Brito, a realtor with Compass in the Maryland, D.C. area and the founder of Capital Senior Solutions, a division focused on late in life moves. Jan is also licensed to sell real estate in the U.S. Virgin Islands and is making her own move to St. Croix at the end of 2026. Today, we are talking about second homes, part-time setups, and life on an island that is sunny and 80 degrees year-round. Hi, Jen. Welcome to the show. It's so good to have you back again.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
You're now licensed to sell real estate in the U.S. Virgin Islands, which is really
Yes, I am.
exciting. I'm very excited about this topic. Can you tell us your story and how you ended up there?
Sure. I sold a home in Maryland for a couple who wintered in St. Croix. That was in 2020. And when we closed on the house, we had become pretty close through the process because, as I spoke on my last recording with you, it's quite involved and quite emotional. So you tend to form a lot of relationships with the people you're working with that linger even past the sale. And they had invited me to come visit them in St. Croix. And I said, yes. And I came for a week in December, and they were the perfect host. They showed me the entire island. I met friends on the East End, friends on the West End. We sailed, we did all these fun things. And I really didn't think much about checking my email on my phone while I was there, which is a phenomenon for me, right? And I knew that was where I wanted to live. And so I started making plans right away. Between then and now, I've probably been about 15 times going back and forth, and I usually stay for 30 days at a time. And I was coming so much that I just finally got a year-round lease, which is what I have now, so that I don't have to worry about getting a reservation. I come and go as I please. But November, I have booked a one-way flight on November 4th.
Oh, that's amazing. And you can just use your US passport, stay as long as you like. You don't need a visa or anything.
If you're a U.S. citizen, you don't need a passport because this is U.S. territory. So just a driver's license.
Right. And how long is the flight from like Maryland to St. Croix?
From Maryland to St. Croix, you have to connect through Miami or Charlotte, and each leg of the flight is about 2.5 hours. And then you've got your connection time. So it's really a day of travel.
But same time zone.
Same time zone, except that the Virgin Islands does not have daylight savings time. So there's a portion of the year when we're an hour difference.
Got it. And the USVI includes St. Thomas and St. John as well.
That's correct. St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix. St. Croix is the sleepy, laid-back, cultural, slower vibe. St. Thomas is very commercial, cruise shippy, touristy. And St. John is largely parkland and is known for its extremely expensive homes and beautiful homes, but very low population.
So tell us a little bit about St. Croix. What's it like there? What's the weather like?
My God, the weather's perfect. It's 80s and sunny year round. Of course, we have a hurricane season, but we don't get hurricanes every year. So the high season, which is when the snowbirds come down, is usually November to April or May. And it's a gem that often gets overlooked in favor of the flashier siblings that I just talked about. But honestly, that's part of its charm. So one of the things that makes it really special is the laid back vibe. It feels really less touristy. There's not overwhelming cruise ship crowds, just a really slower, more authentic Caribbean pace. And then there's two towns, historic towns, one on the East End called Christiansted and one on the West End called Frederiksted, which is where the cruise ships come in when they do come. Frederiksted is quieter and artsy, and Christiansted is home of the fort that's here. So there's a lot of history, a lot of Danish colonial architecture. We have a boardwalk with restaurants and shops in Christiansted. The diving and the snorkeling, people come from all over the world to dive here. And then there's Buck Island Reef National Park. When you're here, you hear about Buck Island. You have to go to Buck Island, and that's one of the big attractions. Then there's the food and the rum culture. So there's a Crucian rum factory here. It's made right here, all sorts of flavors. I never knew I liked rum till I got here. And the farm table scene is really, really strong. There's a lot of farms out on the West End. And then I mentioned the history, the Danish colonial forts, sugar plantation ruins, going back centuries, and then beaches for every mood. Sandy Point is the one out on the West End where sea turtles build their nests. These huge leatherback, the 6-foot tall turtles, the mamas come and lay on the beach and dig their nests and lay like 120 eggs. And the Natural Resources Department leads people in there for a dusk hatch watch party. So they know about when the hatchlings are going to come up from under the sand. So you go in there with a blanket and you sit there and watch them dig up under the sand. Takes them a long time and you can't help them. But when they get out, they're like smaller than your hand. So we got to hold one and then you take it to the water to put it out to sea because a lot of them won't survive the trek from the beach to the ocean, even though it's right there on the beach. They're so tiny. So, and then the
So
people.
cute.
The people are just so warm and welcoming. There's a lot of local pride and culture, festivals all the time. It's just a really cool vibe. Actually, I think the tagline is a vibe like no other. That you have to be here to understand that, you know?
I'm sold. I wore I wore my aspirational sunglasses blouse today. So
Come on down.
yeah, I'm ready. So with remote work changing, what's possible? I guess more people are thinking about a second home, a part-time setup, or, like you, a permanent move somewhere. So what should people know about owning property there or moving there or having a part-time home there?
Well, there are a lot of folks who just winter here and are here for the season, and many of them are still working and they have positions that allow them to work remotely while they are here. Or some may go back and forth as needed during their stay here during season. And then there's a lot of people that have retired, but still like to go home for the summers and avoid the hurricane season. So, yeah, one thing you do need to understand about transitioning here is you will not pay state income tax. That's a good thing. But we're notorious for very high electric and water costs. So you
Mm.
have to be prepared for that and realize we're an island, so everything is imported. Although we do have that farm to table scene out on the West End, a lot of local produce is grown here, and there's a lot of herbs and things. I took a tour of a farm one time out on the West End, and things that look like weeds are actually medicinal herbs or herbs that you can use in tea or in cooking. It was so informative. I just loved it. So groceries are more expensive because everything's imported, like I said, and deliveries take longer to get here. Wherever you're ordering from online. We don't have any big box stores here. We have small locally owned boutique type of stores. So unfortunately, many of us are forced to order online and have things shipped from the US. But we do try to shop local as much as we can.
I guess you can just buy everything here on the mainland, and then whenever you go back, have a big haul of everything that you missed.
That's what I was thinking about doing, some of the things that I either can't find here or are hard to find or crazy expensive. Maybe I would pack a crate with, a year's supply of that kind of thing.
So, who is buying in St. Croix right now, and how do prices compare to the DC Metro? What kind of properties are available?
We have a variety of properties, just as in the DC metro area. There's all price points. You can maybe get a fixer upper for a couple 100,000 here, but then you have to have the money to put into renovating it and bringing it back to its full potential, all the way up to multi-million dollar beautiful vacation homes and everything in between. The condo market is very big here because it's good for folks who are snowbirding. They don't have the maintenance when they're not here, but many of the condos are not able to be financed, so often it will require a cash purchase. And the fees are extremely high because it includes the hurricane insurance, wind insurance, and whatever reserves are being put forth to keep them solvent.
What Right. What's an example of how much condo fees cost? Like, I know in Bethesda, maybe it could be like, anywhere 1,000, 2,000 a month.
Well, ironically, it's not all that different here. I mean, it's easily 1,500, 2,000 a month. So in terms of the difference between here and DC, really not all that much.
We talked a little bit about cost of living, but what's healthcare like?
Yeah, healthcare unfortunately is a bit lacking here, which is why some people, as they age, might move off island if they have issues they have to deal with, chronic issues. We do have a hospital here, but it still has a lot of hurricane damage and they're very short on supplies. I hear nothing but good things about the staff and the doctors, but the
Mhm.
facility itself is really in bad shape. And there are plans for a new one. I don't know how many years it will take to deliver that. So healthcare is something people complain about a lot here. And many people, especially stateside who transitioned here, like myself, will go back once a year and group all their annual checkups around the same time period so they can get them done stateside. Or they might engage with a doctor, practitioner in Miami or Puerto Rico. 40-minute flight.
It's
I
pretty
think
short.
Miami's longer. Puerto Rico's shorter. Puerto Rico might be 20 minutes. But there are concierge doctors here, just like we have stateside. And the other thing people do here, as a matter of course, is purchase medical evacuation insurance. So if you have some horrible thing that happens to you and the hospital either doesn't have the equipment or the talent to treat you, your doctor can authorize you to take one of these medical transport flights to the closest destination, Puerto Rico or Miami, to get the care you need as fast as possible. And
Yeah.
that's really surprisingly affordable, like $250 a year.
Do they take Medicare where you are?
Absolutely, because it's a US territory, they sure do. Yeah.
Okay, good. And you can buy private health insurance?
Yes, you can. Now, the outfit that I have all my insurance with back home, home, auto, blanket, etc., unfortunately, they don't cover the US Virgin Islands. So that
I
is
see.
something you'll have to deal with. You may not be able to get the company that you had before.
So when I sit down with clients thinking about buying a second home or kind of living somewhere else part-time, model out mortgage, insurance, travel, property
Mhm.
manage, potential rental income, are there other expenses people overlook?
Well, of course, you have to keep in mind that you'll need a down payment. And if it's a second home, it's going to be larger than what you would pay for your primary residence. Typically, it's a minimum of 25%.
Mhm.
Your interest rate is going to be higher for a second home. I don't know what the going rate is now, but I've seen it as high as 8%. Don't quote me. I
Okay,
don't know what today's rate is, but that's something to
right.
think about. Um, and then, of course, the cost of acquisition in addition to the cost of the house, any inspections that you want to have and that sort of thing. And you'll want to make sure you've got some reserves left after your purchase and that you're not going to be house poor, just like purchasing something stateside. It needs to be a smart decision. And hopefully, people are talking to financial advisors like yourself to prep themselves and do the proper due diligence.
And what are property taxes like over there?
Super, super cheap, like unbelievably low. That is not even something you need to worry about. It's like less than $1,000 for a 3-bedroom house a year.
Interesting.
I mean, it's not,
Interesting.
yeah, it's
Huh.
crazy.
So some things are significantly less and some are more.
Yeah, no state sales tax, and the real estate taxes are super low. Now,
Huh.
that's good for the residents of the island, but on the other hand, if we had higher real estate taxes, we could offer better services to the residents. So it's a catch-22. So
Got it. So what's the difference between renting and buying something? How long would somebody rent before buying? Do you have any thoughts on that?
yeah, the advice I was given when I started thinking about relocating here was definitely rent for a while until you're absolutely certain this is what you want.
Mhm.
And so that's what I've been doing for the last 2 years. And when I move in November, I'll renew the lease where I'm currently at and just enjoy and not even think about buying until I'll know it when it's right. If it's right, I may never buy. I may rent the rest of my life. A lot of older adults do that. Once they sell
Mhm.
their primary residence, their longtime home, they rent for the rest of their life, gives them flexibility, peace of mind, you don't have to deal with the maintenance. Plus, I love the view from my rental, it's just phenomenal, and I have the best landlord.
I've seen your view. It overlooks the water, you have some hills, and it's just very
Yeah, and the
picturesque.
sunrises and sunsets are just they never get old, never.
Amazing.
Yeah,
So coming from a realtor, you may not even buy. That's
that's right.
crazy.
At my age, yeah.
Right. Do you help people find rentals as well?
I do. I stopped that practice in the States long ago, but starting as a realtor in a new market, yes, I will help folks find rentals as well, whether it's long term or vacation rental. But one thing I do want to mention if someone comes here to start a business, whether it's a brick and mortar or a service oriented business, if you have at least 10 employees, and there might be a couple of other requirements, but if you have at least 10 employees, you could be eligible for up to a 90% discount on your business and personal taxes.
Oh,
That's
wow.
huge, huge.
That's huge.
And there's tons of land for sale, so much land, so many building opportunities,
Uh-huh.
lots of
Wow.
opportunity here.
Very cool. How about for remote workers, like a financial advisor, for example, who wants to have a second office there?
You absolutely could do it. You could get those EC, perks as long as you've got some employees.
Right. Got
But
it.
you could easily work remotely. I mean, even as a realtor, I've been working remotely from here off and on for 4 years with my team back home. And we use
Uh-huh.
technology, video technology for me to walk through properties while I'm sitting here and make a punch list and figure out what needs to be done. My team gets the services together and I don't have to be physically present. to launch a listing.
Amazing.
Do your type of work really from anywhere.
Right.
So I'll
Yes.
say it again, come on down.
I'm coming. Yes, for sure. And so what are the hurricane seasons again that people generally avoid?
It's June through October.
June
But
through
like I said, we
October.
don't get hurricanes every year.
And then when you do, what does that look like?
Well, I have not experienced one, but everybody I've talked to says if you get a hurricane warning, just go ahead and get off island and come back when it's over. I talked to a woman who's been here for 40 years, and she said she lived through one and told herself she would never do it again. The minute she
Mm.
gets the warning, she gets on a plane and gets out of here and she deals with whatever is here when she comes back. Because to live through it, her was just not worth it. But I've talked to other people who survived, I think it was Hugo, and they were out of power for 3 months, and people help each other, and somehow it works.
Mm.
They do have generators, a lot of solar power here because of all our sunshine, of course.
So when you get a warning, there is time to get out, and there are available flights
Usually,
to get out.
yeah, yeah, I did survive a tropical storm one year. I came in August intentionally because that's the hottest month of the year, and I wanted to see what it was like, and it
Uh-huh,
was true. It was the hottest month of the year. There's less of a breeze in August. See, the
uh-huh.
reason the weather here is so tolerable all year round is it's always 80, it's always sunny, and you always have that breeze, that beautiful Caribbean breeze, except in August.
It's
Yeah.
1 month, versus like 8 months of winter over here.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'll take it any day.
So what is hot? Like, how many degrees is hot?
Oh, it never gets above 83.
But, like, in
Usually,
August?
yeah. It's just the lack of a breeze that makes it feel hotter and more humid.
That's
Which,
nothing.
we're used to that in DC, right? In August, it's,
Right.
often
It's
99
like
degrees with 100% humidity. And
exactly. So it's actually probably better over there anyways in
it is.
August.
Yes.
If you get hot, you just go for a dip and, go snorkeling and check out the fish.
Well, here's the other thing I forgot to mention about the beaches. All beaches, and there are a ton of them, as you can imagine, are open to the public. There's no such thing as a private beach here. Even in a
Uh-huh.
private gated community, the public is allowed to enter to go to the beach. Now, they might have a certain designated area on the beach where they sit, but all beaches are open to the public, which is a wonderful thing. As a matter of fact, I run around in my car with a beach chair and a blanket or a towel in the trunk just in case I get a hair, stop and get a sandwich, have lunch on the beach, go back to work, What a life, right?
What a life. So do you own a car there or you rent a car?
I've been renting, but I will ship my car in November.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you got into real estate like at 50. You reinvented your practice around seniors, and now you're building a new life in the Caribbean. So, what would you say to someone who thinks it's too late for a big change or nervous about it?
You know what? With longevity being what it is these days and it not being uncommon for folks to live to 100, as a matter of fact, I heard a statistics that the average 5-year-old right now will live to be 105 or older. So we're living longer. So what's too old? You might do one career for 20 or 30 years and maybe you stop when you're 60, but you're not done. You want to do something else. Maybe you start a new career, a new hobby. You never know. And I had hoped that I could replicate my business practice at home in St. Croix with helping older adults in late in life move transitions, but there really aren't a lot of senior communities here. So instead, I'm going to put my energy towards volunteering in that world. There's a federally funded home here that is way underfunded, and I've been asked to help get a 501(c)(3) started for that organization as a fundraising arm. And I haven't exactly agreed to it, but I'm talking to the executive director and an attorney who's been involved to see if it's something I feel like I could take on. So
Right.
I may be doing that. And that's not for business. That's just because working with older adults feeds my soul. And if I can't do it to the degree I did back home, at least I can volunteer and give back to the local community, which would really feel good.
You never have a lack of things to be involved with.
No, yeah. I mean, and people can discover new hobbies, things you might never have thought of trying when you worked. Even if you fail at it, you tried, you experienced it, and move on to the next thing, you know?
Right. Is there anything else you want the listeners to know?
Just, if anybody has any questions about what it's like here or wants to even come down for a vacation to see if it might be something you'd consider, I'll help with short-term vacation rentals as well. It's just a beautiful place. It really, you have to be here to experience it. It's just magical. Yeah.
Great. And what's the best way people can get in touch with you or find out more about you?
My website at seaglassproperties.com. You'll find me one of the agents listed there. And my email here in the USVI is Jan Brito at seaglassproperties.com.
Perfect. And I'll include that in the show notes. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show. And I hope to see you soon in St. Croix.
Thank you for having me, and I will welcome you with open arms.